Welcome to Thoughts on Theology, and we are your hosts, Martin and Andrew, and we are walking through the large Catechism, and we're here in the fifth commandment. Now, this is an easy one, right? I mean, super easy, pretty straightforward. Don't kill people, done. And that's our Thoughts on Theology, and we'll see you next time. Wait, is there more?
There might be one or two more thoughts.
Okay, more thoughts on this than that. All right, so fifth commandment, you shall not murder. Tell us what are we talking about here, Andrew?
Yeah, it's don't kill people, don't bring them any harm, but it's more than that. It's caring for your neighbor. If you have the opportunity to care for your neighbor in a variety of ways, then you should take that opportunity to care for them.
Okay, pause there.
Okay.
Because you just expanded it significantly.
Period.
Because it's not just, don't knife someone in the alley. It's don't cause harm to them. Whoa, that is a huge expansion. And it's what we see Jesus do in the Sermon on the Mount when he says, you've heard it said, you shall not murder. I say to you, if you are angry with your brother, then you have sinned against him in this way. And so even our hatred, our despising someone is akin to this fifth commandment issue of murder. And then you talked about how even doing harm to a person, not necessarily like, man, I didn't kill you, but I broke your nose, that is also akin to that same concept. Like we don't want, this is our neighbor, we want to love that neighbor well, so what do? Well, we don't hurt him or her. That's the idea.
It's so the anger idea, it's taking that a step further, and I think anger is one of the ways that this is seen easiest. If you're angry at another person, well, anger in and of itself is not a sin, but what leads from anger oftentimes is, most of the time, 99.9% of the time, will lead to sin. Yeah. And so in your anger, if you shove someone, the punching in the nose is a good example, so we should probably not do that one. But it's even, not even in anger, but on the other side of the coin, it can be in apathy. Seeing someone, and we have the ability to help someone, but we don't take that opportunity. Jesus says,
talk about that part. The idea of the apathy. I want to love my neighbor, and I can't love them if I'm apathetic towards them, right? Luther talked about that kind of later on in his section, line 190. And he says, if therefore you send away someone who is naked when you could clothe him, you have caused him to freeze to death. If you see someone suffer hunger and do not feed him food, you have caused him to starve. And so over and over again, he has other examples too, but the idea is like, if you see a person in need and you're apathetic towards them, you're not helping him in his body, then you are hurting him in his body, and therefore breaking this fifth commandment.
Yeah, that's when Jesus talks about, hey, you saw me hungry and you gave me food. Hey, you saw me in need of shelter and you sheltered me. Lord, when did we see you like this? Well, whenever you do this to the least of these, you do this to me as well. And so that is what Luther is trying to get to, is we are asked and we are tasked with doing that, with taking care of the other and those in need.
Okay, so you see two ways of breaking the commandment. Causing harm or allowing harm to be done. Either one is from our action, a sin of commission, and one is our inaction or a sin of omission. Okay, well, that makes good sense. So how do we keep the commandment if that's how we break it?
Yeah, so in 196, he talks about we ought to practice and teach this. Then we would have our hands full by doing good works. By this we would not be preaching to monks, for it would be greatly undermined from the religious calling and interfere with the whatever it might be. So continue on, but basically we need to be doing good works for those that are around us. We need to be taking care of those around us. Defend and save our neighbors, as it were. So,
yeah. Well, if you back up to 193, it's a good summary for us. It is God's ultimate purpose that we let harm come to no one, but show him all good and love. right? That's what we want to do. We want to love our neighbors. We want to do good to them. We want to bless them. We want to be an asset for them. And in that way, we are fulfilling the commandment, something that we often don't do. And now, this concept of murder, I mean, if we're limiting it to, physical death, killing someone, or even harming them in their bodies, or even being angry in our hearts towards them, and letting that be an influence of sin, we're not helping them at all. All of those are massive issues for us to deal with. And yet, we would add on to that, there's a lot of modern day issues where death is involved. And what do we do with that? Like this, a big connection with this is like, well, where does war fit in with this? Where does abortion fit in with this? Where does euthanasia fit in with this? Heck, where does hunting fit in with this? You know what I mean? Like all of these are questions that are like, wait, help me understand. If it's just what are we doing? And how do we address these different things? So some of them are like, okay, I would venture to say that certainly the fifth commandment does not have anything to do with hunting, but it does have something to do with abortion, and it has something. But where do we deal with some of these issues? How do we deal with the modern day issues and apply this text to it?
So there's a lot there.
Yeah, no.
There was
a big question.
Several questions there, not just one.
Pick one.
So let's go with the abortion one. And I know this is something you have said, that if someone is asking you this question, the first question you ask it back to them is, why do you ask? What do you want to know? Where in your journey has this hit you? Is this something that you are struggling with currently? Is this something you have walked through before? Is this something that's happening in your family right now? Because once you understand that backdrop, then you can kind of maybe give some pastoral counsel of how to find hope even in potentially a hopeless situation.
Well, if someone's asking for permission, you would handle that differently than if someone is asking for forgiveness.
That's exactly right.
And so if it's man, is this okay to do? I find myself in a really hopeless situation. What do I do with this? We counsel them, well, the taking of all life is precious to God because He's created us all in His image, and therefore all life, even if it's small, even if it's in utero, even if it's in a situation where there's health deficiencies, I think like later on in life, like a euthanasia kind of concept. Even so, this life has value because God made this life. And therefore, we treat it with value and respect. That's why we would say, no, abortion is wrong. It is a murder. It is taking the life of another, and we need to stand firm on that. We don't back down from that, because that's what God's Word says, and we align ourselves to His truth. Now, someone comes to us and says, man, I in my fear, in my grip, in my hopelessness, this is the action that I have taken. Am I going to be okay? And the answer is, well, yeah, there is grace. There is grace in Jesus Christ, who takes repentant sinners and loves them and restores them and blesses them. There's probably some scars that we'll carry. As we all carry scars of our poor choices in the past, but there is yet forgiveness and grace. It's not in the large catechism here, but it actually is in the small catechism, the newer small catechism in the 2016 version, where there's actually a format for a conversation with someone who's experienced abortion. They've gone through that pain, and how do you have that conversation? How do you bless them and give them the hope that is theirs in Jesus Christ?
Yeah. So with this conversation, I immediately think about my family, my brother and sister-in-law. They found out about their little boy had a medical deficiency, had a medical condition that he would not live a full life. And I know that during that pregnancy, there was conversation, and even their doctors, they were counseling the couple to have an abortion. That was their medical opinion was that way. And so talking with them and walking with them through that, that was not off the table for a time. And so when I walked with them in that moment, it was a different conversation that I had, that when their boy was born with this condition and was not going to live a full life, but he was with us. And so that conversation that I had there was much different than the conversation I had while walking with them with the potential of abortion. Yeah. And so that's why we need to, in any of these situations, with the war, with hunting, with abortion, whatever it might be, get some clarification on what that person needs and how does the gospel or the law affect this person in this moment. And so, yeah, it was a different conversation
totally
when he was here. So.
Absolutely, and that's exactly it. It's about the heart and how we're bringing God's word, His law, and gospel to His people. Yeah. So that's one of those major, bigger issues. We would also talk about, well, where does like a war or a self-defense come into play? And Luther talked about that quite a bit too. He talked about how it's a vocation to be a soldier. What you're doing is you're carrying out the Romans 13 concept of carrying the sword. For him, it was you are acting as the government and doing this thing. So for him, it's like this is then a just thing. I look at it more in terms of like, as we do these things, are we blessing and protecting the bodies and lives of others? That's the real goal here. So someone breaks in, man, I want to protect my family's lives, and so therefore my actions are based on not a thirst for blood or something like that, but rather a protection of someone else's life. So that's where we would look at some of those issues of like war or self-defense, or when we get to hunting. I always get asked the question in confirmation, like, what about animals? I'm like, well, hunting is for food, and if you're using it for food or you're using it for a good purpose, then great. And if you're doing this because you want to see the thing die, then maybe they have a more private conversation, maybe with a counselor.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
there are some reasons not to go hunting, but there are some reasons to go hunting. Yeah. There's great benefit in taking care of populations of different animals.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. But yeah, I think on a lot of these, it's the heart posture, like we've talked about with a lot of things. It's what is in your heart, and that's where the anger and apathy conversation comes back around.
Yep.
It's, with war especially, like, are you doing it to protect the nation in which you live, or are you doing it because you really like watching people die and suffer on the end of whatever weapon you choose? Those are different conversations. And so if you're doing it out of service for the other, then yeah, it is in a way a noble cause. So same thing with hunting as well. So what is your heart posture in pursuing this action?
Absolutely. Now, we understand these concepts are massive and require a whole lot more conversation to really like dial down and get into the weeds of. But for our purposes here, a general concept for us in the large catechism is life. God created life. He values life. We're called to value the lives of others as well. That's really what the fifth commandment's all about. So, Andrew, any other thoughts?
I think we've summed it up pretty well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.